Hello and welcome to yet another edition of The Focal Point. My name is Bart Kakoza. Homosexuality is a controversial global issue. In Uganda, it is a serious crime. Section 145 of the Penal Code Act calls for life imprisonment for the offenders. Because of the law, let alone the stigma and disgrace attached to it, and the fact that it is taboo in our society, practitioners do it furtively. As a result, it has been very difficult to prove it in courts of law against people who are alleged to have committed the crime. In our program tonight, I feature one of the two young men who are alleged to have been sodomized by the adoptive father at 15, causing both psychological and physiological harm. Throughout the program, I deliberately mute names of people associated with the controversy because they have neither been found guilty nor proven innocent by courts of law, and therefore I do not wish to expose their person. Fred and Peter, not their real names, are both 25 years old adults now. They passed through a difficult early childhood which saw them become street children in their tender age. Fred in particular was a victim of unstable parenthood.
1992, my mother and my father got some misunderstandings. So my father chased away our mother, and our mother went with us. She had no money to look after us. So in 1995, I decided to leave my mom and I came to Kampala to look for something to do.
How old were you then?
By then I was 13 years. I had nowhere to sleep, so I joined the group of Bayai who used to stay around the Cloco Tower.
At the age of 13, Fred and his other colleagues were part of the crowd that attended the crusade here at the Clock Tower grounds. It is during the crusade that Fred and his other colleagues got saved and were taken up by the late Balabi Kubo, a born-again pastor who promised them a better life at his church and support in education. For a brief period, this church, Prayer Palace located in Katwe Chibuye, became their new home. Unfortunately, this life was short-lived when Balabi Kubo died in a nasty accident.
But when the man of God died, our hope, we thought that no one is going to take care of us. When he died, we took him and buried him. When we came back at the church, some pastors came and started picking one. But by bad luck, I was chosen by Pastor. He found me at the gate. I was conversing with young kids in English. Then he asked me, which class did you stopped in which class? I told him that P7. He told me, I want to take you to my home and you visit it. Then we shall talk. That evening he took me to his home in Mengo, near Bulange, and he told me that you come and sleep in my room. I started sleeping in his room. He had a big bed, and we used to put our mattresses beside him. We were about 8 in one room. He used to sleep in the middle.
So what happened later?
That man of God, by then he started using me the things which I didn't want. He used to force me to masturbate him early in the morning. He can wake me up with his feet, and he take me to the bathroom and tell me to masturbate him, which I didn't do. I didn't do it. I didn't do it willingly. He just forced me to do it.
Okay, that's...
In 96, I was in S2. It was one Sunday evening. He went back to the church as he usually does. We go and pray then afternoon. We come for lunch, then we go back for the evening service. That evening, the car was full. I didn't have any space where I could sit, so I stayed at home. I decided to use that evening to go and visit my friends. I went and visited them. knowing that this pastor is coming back at 10 in the night. So he didn't come back at that time. For me, I came back at 8. I found him in the house. He told me where you're coming from. I told him, I'm coming from my friends. He told me, you go back. Did you inform me when you're going? I said no. I apologized. He insisted. And he told me to move out of the house. He forced me out of the house. And I sat in the compound from 8 up to 10. But after 10, I decided to go and sleep at the fence. I slept. But after 2 hours, it started raining heavily. I ran away from the fence, then I came to the veranda. Reaching the veranda, I found Pastor standing in the doorway, and he was in the underpunch only. After 5 minutes, he opened the door, and he told me to enter. When I entered, I knelt down as we usually do, and I thanked him so much. And he told me, I proceeded to go where I usually sleep. I used to sleep with David Rule in our room. He told me, you don't go there. Your friends are already asleep. You go this side. He took me to the small room which they used to use as a counseling room. There was a sofa, a big chair. He told me, you're going to sleep there. I removed my clothes and I remained in a pant. That man of God closed the door, and he closed the door and went and came with my blanket. He told me, you're going to sleep there. I covered myself and he went out again and he closed me inside. Then after something like 20 minutes, he came back and told me to masturbate him as he usually forced me. He usually forced me to do it. I did it. This man got stimulated and then turned me down. This man of God, he sodomized me. The thing was very painful. This man is so big and so powerful, and it was raining outside.
Didn't you try to raise an alarm for help?
I shouted so that I can alert the upstairs, but no one could hear my cry. I forced myself to the doorway and I kicked it, but no one could come for my rescue. After that man sodomizing me, he locked me inside the room. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep that night. In the morning, Brother Ernie prepared me breakfast, which I could not eat. And the pastor came and told me, you go in the bathroom and bathe. I went, he followed me, and I started bathing. He was standing there. After bathing, I changed the clothes and went straight to his sister. She's called. I told her whatever has happened. This woman knew the habits of his brother.
What was her response?
That madam told me that we are going to put a padlock on your room so that he will not disturb you again. I was feeling a lot of pain. I decided to go to the LOC. I went to the LOC a man called Mr. Kabanda. Mr. Kabanda, I told him what happened. This man, this LOC guy told me that this is your family member. Why don't you finish this issue within the family? I told him I'm not among those people. I'm called. He refused to give me the letter to go to the police. I chilled him. He told me that I'm coming at your home. You tell the pastor that I'm coming. That LOC came and we sat. And they start discussing that you better take this kid for treatment. It was the sister who was counseling the brother, the big sister counseling pastor. and the LC man were there. So I asked Pastor that it would have been better if you call my mom to hear this story. The man of God refused to inform my mom. They took me to a certain doctor by the names of Dr. Kalibala. He's working in Namirembe Hospital. He has a clinic in Nankurabye. Then he checked me. He wrote down the letter, but it was Pastor who took it. He kept it in his pocket. And we went back home. I didn't know, but I was feeling a lot of pain. In my behind, I was feeling a lot of pain. We are about 4. We are going through the same experience. He used to call and take them in
the bedroom.
He didn't use the bedroom. He used the bathroom and the counseling room and the computer room. You can be bathing in the bathroom, but if you change your head like this, you can see him peeping, looking at you. And he used to tell us that don't shut the door when you're bathing. He can come and stand there and start watching you. And we got used to that.
So what followed then?
In 1997, we sat down as a group and we told Pastor that this pastor you're serving with, he's a gay. Pastor said no and said, don't tell me that, it can't be, never talk against the man of God, never touch my anointed one. So she opened the Bible and started counseling us. We told her that we are going to tell this to the whole world so that everyone could know what this guy is doing and what he has been forcing us to do. He told us that if you do it, the church is going to split into 2 pieces. We said that we want to leave this man. He said, you be patient, we shall take you out, we shall do everything for you. She pleaded. And she told me, if you tell your mom what happened, you will see what happened to her or to you. That was 1997. We sat down as a group, we wrote a letter down. It was me who was writing, and we pushed it under his room. When he came back, he read it. We wrote some scriptures, and we are condemning him of what he does and warning him about what we are going to do. We are informing him about the next step. But he sat down and he called a meeting that night. He quarreled for the whole night until 5 in the morning. He told us whoever is tired of this place should pack his things and go. He talked many words, and we all chilled. He said, who wrote this letter? We all kept quiet, that we don't know, but he knew my handwriting. He decided to take me in a boarding school, that is Light College Katikam, and they separated us.
After separation from your colleagues, what was the next move?
So in 1997, I started buying me drugs from South Africa, and I started swallowing them because blood was passing through my anus up to down. I told that this thing is so painful. That's why she started buying drugs. In 1998, I completed my senior 4. During my VAC senior 4, I mobilized my colleagues that we don't have to give up. We have to go on with this deal. We have to leave this place. I was in my VAC in 1999. Came back from school. He told me that, do you know what's going on? Half an inch of my intestine is out. I said, what? He didn't tell me. He told the pastor, and the pastor rushed him to Namirembe Hospital. They operated him. I took that chance to go near and I went to be his caretaker. But one night we were about to sleep. Emma sat on his bed and told me that, do you know what? The man of God sodomized me, and I could not tell this to anyone. Even my closest friend, I could not tell them. We all spent that night crying because we are now two who have informed each other what happened to us. We spent something like 1.5 months in Namirembe, then we went back home. In 1999, I started going to school in Ndeji High School in Form 5 in Form 5 first term. But we got I told the pastor that my life cannot go on with books. I was disturbed psychologically because I was the eldest among the children who were going to school, whom the pastor was paying school fees. I told him that this cannot go on, even if you're paying our school fees, but we are tired of this. I told him openly. He told me, so what do you want to do? I told him, we are tired of your behavior, forcing us to masturbate you. You sodomized us. I'm not okay. My life is not okay. Has been operated, so we are leaving.
What was his reaction?
He pleaded until 2000. It was 2000. We got courage, and we packed our things and went. And we went to the neighborhood. We stayed there for a night. In the morning, we went straight to Pastor. We had a big envelope. We wrote our testimony. I wrote how I came to Pastor and how I came to know him and how I got saved. And I told everyone to write that, how they came there, what they have seen. We wrote our statements. We put them in the paper bag and then a big envelope. And we had some magazines which we got from Pastor's office.
What type of magazines were they?
They were pornographic magazines. We added them there and we went to grabbed those things. Immediately he called the pastor and we sat in a meeting upstairs there at the flat near Bulange.
What did you tell them when you called them then?
We told them our agenda, that we are going to inform the whole country and the whole world how Pastor sodomized us. Knelt down and she pleaded, she said, don't do that. Please help us. What do you want? You give us an option.
What option did you give them?
I told them that we want to keep on going to school. We want you to rent us a house. And we want to stay as we've been staying in a good life. They accepted and told us, you look for a house. That's when we got a house near Kabaka's Lake, near Kayanja's church at 800. They paid 6 months. But after we completed the 6 months, Pastor went to America. When he came back, he started dividing us. One day, Fred went back to Pastor. He's the one who told us that Pastor is back from Boston. He's now back in Uganda. He has given me $200. And he has told you can pick your money. Emma went there and picked his. I was the last to go. He gave me 360 Ugandan money. And he told me that you better separate with those people. Again in 2001, I told Pastor that I'm bad love. The blood is still flowing. She told me that, do you still go to this place to get some money and medicine? I said, yes, I always go there after 2 weeks or 3. Then Pastor told me that we shall take you to South Africa for an operation if the thing has refused to stop.
What was your immediate response?
I told him that you start working on the passport. In 3 weeks, the passport was out. I filled the forms, but when the passport came out, the things I filled in the form were changed, and it was who is one of the members of worship team of, he's the one who came with that passport. And he told me, that passport has told me that you keep this passport and you keep using this identity card.
Which identity card?
They gave me an identity card of Chambogo University. They started teaching me what I would talk to the embassy. I used to meet them at Grand Imperial, and they told me if they ask you this, you answer this, that you are going in a university, has a big paper bag, had a big paper bag, that you have been admitted there, we want to take you there, you will be operated from there. I said, fine. I started using that identity card from 2001, but in 2003, it was August, I was rearrested again.
For what?
They came direct to my place at night. They asked me, how many boys do you sleep with in this room? I said, I sleep with, it's my brother. I had a brother who had visited me. We sleep, the two of us. They told me that you have 8 people whom you sleep with in this house. I said, no. They told me, you show us your identity card. Your vitambulisho, I showed them. They told me I'm a student at Chambogo University. I said, yes, I'm a student there. They took me to Oldikira police station again in 2003. When we reached Oldikira police station, I wrote a statement. That night, it was about 3. In the morning, they took me back to my place and told me, we want you to pack everything, every metallic thing here. They told me, we want the receipts of these things. I said, I don't have the receipts of these things. Then from there, from home, they wrote all the things they got from the house, and they brought me back to the police station. From the police station, they drove me to Chambogo University, to the registrar's office, and they asked him, do you know this guy? He checked in the books and said, this guy was admitted here in 2002, 2003. But he didn't come for studies. And they asked, the police officer said, what of this identity card of Chambogo University? The registrar said that that's fake. From there, they brought me back to the cells. After 2 days, I was taken to court in September 3rd. The magistrate asked me that, do you know this case? I admitted. She told me that the same one was the one in charge of that case. She asked me that, she told me that you have 2 offenses, 2 counts, obtaining, having a fake ID and giving it out to the police officers. You have been convicted for 2 years. I was taken to Luzira. I spent there 6 months. From Luzira, I was elected the chairman of Pentecostal Church because I used to read the Bible and I used to preach there. I was voted. After 6 months, I was transferred to Kasese, Ruini Farm Prison. And I could preach there to my fellow prisoners. And my fellow young prisoners used to come to me and report some sodomy cases. I used to counsel them. And I took some of them to the office because I had experienced it before. I had to help them. I helped a certain boy by the names of Semogerere. Some catechuls in prison wanted to sodomize him. He came to me, Pastor, these guys they are on my neck. The boy was very young. I went to the deputy's office and the boy was brought back to Kampala. In 2005, I was released in January 2005. When I came back from prison, I was determined to tell my mom whatever has happened to me. I had a fear. I used to fear Pastor because she can do harm like that, like this, and people could fall down. And I could remember her word that when you tell your parents, you will know what will happen to them. You will see or you will see what will happen to you. I had that fear in me. But in prison, I was determined to tell my mom. And in May, I went back to inform her, to give her my whole life story. She was going for work. She works in Kabubu. She sells cooked peanuts, mangoes on Entebbe Road there. And on that day, it was a Friday, she was going in a certain market. The place is called Ibaita Babidi. So she had packed her baskets. Half of them were on the road, and she had come to pick others. That's when I reached at home. I said, Mom, first wait, let me tell you one thing. I was sodomized by Pastor, and he's the one who was doing all the tricks to put me behind bars, because I told him I have to tell the whole world what he does. The suffering has been suffering, and the times you came visiting me in prison, it was because of Pastor. And my mom told me that I told you that you leave those balokole, and you refused. And you told me that they were paying your school fees and you were happy with them. Do you see what has happened? My mom collapsed from there. Pressure, she got a pressure attack and she fell down. I called my sister and we took her to Chisui Hospital. After 2 days, the condition was becoming worse. I asked them that you give me a letter so that I can take her to Mulago. We are transferred to Mulago. My mom spent in a coma 2 weeks. Dr. Mukasa told me that here in Uganda, we don't have any machine that can expand the vein. That thing is in Kenya. You have to take your mom to Nairobi. I asked the doctor that how much do we need to take our mom there? The doctor told me you need 10 million. I told the doctor we cannot even raise 5 M. They discharged us and we went back home.
Where is your mom now?
My mom is in home now at Webaja on Entebbe Road. Her memory got a problem. Even if I visit her, she cannot tell my name. She calls me the names of my uncle. I don't want even to visit her because whenever I visit her, I become totally sick because I'm the cause of her illness.
Well, that was part 1 of Fred's story. In part 2, Fred will narrate what happened later. The program will also feature Fred's colleague telling his story. This will be followed by comments and reactions from some Pentecostal church leaders on the growing allegations of homosexuality in the church. That's all we had time for this week from our Focal Point desk. Don't forget to tune in next week for continuation of Fred's story. I'm Bat Kakoza, wishing you a pleasant evening.